Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. So have you seen this latest footage from Mike Tyson as he prepares for Roy Jones Jr.? He just looks insane. I mean, it's hard to believe that Mike Tyson can still do that. I mean, not at his age, but considering after the career he's had and everything else, it's just amazing that Mike Tyson can still move like that, still punch like that. It's just brilliant. And one thing I will say is, the video that we saw from this one, which was released yesterday, he looks a lot better than he did a couple of months ago. So that shows that Mike Tyson is starting to get his timing and distance back, because I noticed when he done his videos previously that at some point he was off balance, or maybe he reached too much. But in this one, he doesn't do that at all. And anytime he does maybe fall in a little bit, he's ready to like block a punch or something like that. He's ready for something to happen. Whereas before, he was just completely out of position. So you can see that Mike Tyson is starting to get his timing and his distance back. And I would imagine that goes hand in hand with him preparing for Roy Jones Jr. Now, the thing about Mike Tyson is he is extremely fast. He's extremely powerful as well. He lands shots from different angles also, and he comes forward with incredible head movement. So he doesn't get hit all that much coming forward, and he is able to land his punches while he is walking forward. It's incredible to see him shifting his feet that fast, moving his head also, and throwing those punches at the same time. That's just one of those things I think that you're kind of born with. I don't think you can really learn how to do that. It's just something that Mike Tyson has always been able to do. So it's not something that Mike Tyson has learned. Now, obviously Mike Tyson shouldn't be going in there and challenging like younger heavyweights like Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury. That's just crazy. But ultimately against someone like Roy Jones Jr., Mike Tyson will look incredible, I believe. And I think that this fight being an exhibition, I think when it catches fire, it's going to catch fire. I don't see this being a jab here, a jab there, laugh at the crowd, that kind of stuff. I don't see it being that. I see this turning into not a fight. Well, it's going to be a fight, but I don't see it being just an exhibition where it's just pity-patty stuff and they don't really care about the outcome. It's going to be a live fight. Now, obviously, this fight has been moved, but still, I believe it will go ahead. And obviously, Mike Tyson is getting ready and he is leaving nothing to chance while his preparations go ahead for Roy Jones Jr. Now, this is kind of a different kind of fight because Roy Jones Jr. wasn't necessarily a heavyweight. I know he won a world title at heavyweight, but he was mostly a light heavyweight for most of his career, then went up to cruiserweight during his later years. But this is a fight at heavyweight, and I'm guessing it's going to be okay because Roy Jones Jr. was bigger towards the end of his career. He was like weighing in around 200 pounds because obviously in the cruiserweight division. So there won't be too much of a size difference. And if there is, it will obviously be Mike Tyson who has the advantage in that department. Now, does Roy Jones have the same left as Mike Tyson? Well, Roy Jones has always been extremely fast. He has had great movement, and the way he can go from defense to attack simultaneously in a split second is just incredible. I've never really seen anyone else. Maybe Lomachenko has come close, but other than that, I've never really seen someone do what Roy Jones Jr. can do in the boxing ring, like with that movement from a defense to attack, throwing just single punches, leading in with that left hook. Just incredible. Now, I'm not expecting Roy Jones Jr. to be doing that against Mike Tyson. I'm not expecting Roy Jones Jr. to be the Roy Jones Jr. of old, because it's not, and it's not going to be the same Mike Tyson, but they are at the same level. They are a similar age, and they've had ups and downs similar to one another in their careers. So it's kind of an even playing field. That's why it works. I don't want to see Roy Jones in there with someone he should not be in there with. Same with Mike Tyson. So them being in there with one another is an even matchup. And I've got to say, Mike Tyson is looking incredible in these boxing videos. And not just incredible, but getting better than he was a few months ago. Now, I'm not saying like he's getting better, like he's improving and all of that. But what I'm saying is his timing is coming back. And he is judging his distance a lot better. You can see that in these videos. So Mike Tyson is tuning his boxing ability and his skills and his body to get ready for this Roy Jones Jr. fight. And you can see by the videos that Mike Tyson is posting, he looks incredible. Now, when you look at Mike Tyson, you see his physique. You can say that he looks just as good as Anthony Joshua or anyone else in the heavyweight division for his condition. But you can see how the body doesn't really matter what it looks like. It's about what it can do, if that makes sense. It doesn't matter if you look aesthetically pleasing. It's just whether you can fight, whether you're fast, good movement, and have good boxing abilities. Like, say, Tyson Fury. I mean, he doesn't necessarily look like a bodybuilder, but he knows how to fight. And same with Anthony Joshua. He's on the other end of the spectrum. He does not look like a bodybuilder, but he's always in shape. But still, he can still fight. But then you have other fighters who get big, muscly, and they're no good in the boxing ring. They're just bodybuilders. So you can almost see how it doesn't matter what you look like. It just matters whether your timing's there, your distance is there, whether you're actually good inside the boxing ring. Have a good boxing brain as well. And what that also means is you can see Mike Tyson, then Anthony Joshua, and say that they're both in the same kind of shape, but they're not. It's very different. Mike Tyson has obviously been through a lot in his career, put miles on the clock, whereas Anthony Joshua is just coming into his prime. So you can see that they're not supposed to be in the boxing ring together, those kind of fighters, but just by looking at them, many people believe that Mike Tyson looks incredible and therefore can do what he used to be able to do 15, 20 years ago, but he just can't. I mean, he can do it in there with Roy Jones Jr., but when he's in there with a young, live opponent who hasn't got that many miles on the clock, that is when it could be dangerous for Mike Tyson. That is why Roy Jones Jr. is the fight that works for Mike Tyson, because it is an even playing field. So guys, anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Mike Tyson has released more footage of him on the pads looking incredible. He looks fast, he looks sharp, just like Mike Tyson of old. I know he's not, but I mean, it just looks incredible. And it's brilliant to see someone like Mike Tyson getting back in there with the pads, doing some boxing. And it is exciting that he's going to have an exhibition against Roy Jones Jr. What is also exciting about that is it's the right kind of opponent for Mike Tyson. We don't want to see him in there with a top 10, top 20 heavyweight. He's done that. He's proven himself. He's a legend of the sport of boxing. So we don't need to see him in there challenging himself against those kind of opponents. But the Roy Jones Jr. fight will be a challenge for Mike Tyson and a great watch for us, the boxing fans, because it is a genuine 50-50. We don't know what's going to happen. Is Mike Tyson going to win? Is Roy Jones Jr. going to win? Is it going to be a blowout? Is Mike Tyson going to come out, jab a little bit, same as Roy Jones, move around, and it's an exhibition, so they're going to go easy on one another. But as soon as someone cracks the other, as soon as Mike Tyson lands on Roy Jones, or even the other way around, can you imagine if Roy Jones catches Mike Tyson clean? Mike Tyson is not going to like that. So they will get into it at some point. So we don't know what's going to happen. Yes, it's an exhibition. Yes, they're having 12-ounce gloves over, 8 rounds. But still, it will catch fire at some point. And when it does, it will be a fight, not an exhibition anymore. So guys, anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below. Leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you are new. Thanks guys.